If you've been in, well, any grade science really, you may have heard about this little thing called global warming. And if you've heard about global warming, you've probably heard a person or two say that some people actually think it's fake. And after some research, I've come up with what is hopefully a clear explanation as to why those people think the way they do, and some of the facts behind global warming. I'm William, and today, you will become a master of global warming. Now, one common misinterpretation is about the statistic that 97% of scientists believe that global warming is real and caused by humans. Many read that as the other 3% not believing in global warming at all, when in fact this 3%, this vast minority, simply believes that global warming isn't caused by humans. I suppose there could be a handful of scientists within that group that actually don't believe in global warming at all, but again, this is just a small percentage of an already vast minority. Now, while we all hope that people not believing in global warming is just a stupid meme or something people joke about, much like eating Tide Pods, idiots, there are some people who do believe that global warming is false. However, much of their arguments boil down to incomplete facts or just downright misinformation. In fact, just to do research on this episode, I found an article of arguments against global warming and could very easily poke holes in a lot of them. And in fact, I'm sure anyone who does more than just, say, Googling a coin flip to decide their position could very easily do the same. But, for the sake of completion, I'll explore some common arguments disproving global warming. Climate has changed before. Ice ages have come and gone, etc. However, there is a difference between what happened then and what is going on now. Ice ages were a lot less abrupt in terms of the change than, say, after the Industrial Revolution. The problem is not so much that it's changing, but that it's changing at such a drastic rate. Models are unreliable. This is based on the quote-unquote inaccuracy of the data. However, these models are based on trends, not specific events. They can tell you that this winter will be colder than average, but not the specific temperature on a specific day. Even if one summer is colder than average, it doesn't excuse the other, much hotter summers. Just like me being nice to my boss doesn't mean we like him, and doesn't mean we don't insult him behind his back. And finally, some say that the Earth is actually cooling, despite 2000 to 2009 being the hottest decade on record. That's really all the evidence I think I need for this point. Now, let's get into the reasons why we know global warming is actually happening and caused by humans. Carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases have increased in level ever since the Industrial Revolution due to the pollution, which you can learn more about in our air and water pollution video. Yay, shameless plug. And not just a small amount of increase. For centuries, it has never been above 300 parts per million. In the 1950s, it was about 310 parts, and is currently about 400. And for the skeptics who say this means nothing, as far back as the 19th century, the heat-trapping power of carbon dioxide has been demonstrated and is even the basis of many instruments made by NASA. So obviously, more greenhouse gas in the atmosphere equals more heat trapped by the sun. In other words, heat increase. Ancient evidence can even be found in ocean sediments, coral reefs, layers of sedimentary rocks, and even tree rings, the latter of which is sensitive to climate change, and thus its rings show a fairly detailed depiction of that year. Thick, light rings mean rainy, thin, light rings mean dry, and they even can show scars from past forest fires. All these show that the planet is warming 10 times what it usually does after an ice age. To give you a better idea, NASA states, the planet's average surface temperature has risen about 2.0 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1.1 degrees Celsius, since the late 19th century. A change largely driven by an increase of carbon dioxide and other human-made emissions into the atmosphere. Most of the warming occurred in the past 35 years, with 16 to 17 of the warmest years on record since 2001. Not only was 2016 the warmest year on record, but 8 of the 12 months that make up that year, from January to September, with the exception of June, were the warmest on records for their respective months. Also, the top 700 meters of the ocean has warmed 0.302 degrees since 1969. This may not seem like much until you realize that since heat distributes, the energy to heat up 700 meters of 71% of the planet is pretty significant. In addition to that, ice sheets in Greenland and the Arctic have shrunk, as well as glaciers worldwide, and snow-capped mountains have had decreasing amounts of snow, as well as melting earlier. Congratulations! If you stayed through that whole video, you now know why we know global warming is happening, as well as some of the points skeptics use, flimsy as they may be. But seriously guys, while we could just leave the Tide Pod thing be and let natural selection take its course, not knowing the facts about global warming could lead to us making rash decisions that could make things even worse. So, more than any of the episodes this season so far, stay informed. If you like this content, subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment down below with anything you want to hear about next, and tune in next time to become a master of everything.